Well, let's go back now to the United States, where our correspondent Sherwin Brasspeace is standing by. Sherwin, good afternoon to you once again. What is currently happening there now? Have there been any scuffles? We know that there are those that are protesting against President-elect Donald Trump today.
Alicia, I'm struggling to hear what you were saying. Maybe we should just ask studio to close their comms.
All right, Sherwin, I was just asking you there, do tell us what is currently happening there. I know when I spoke to you in the previous hour, you were standing in the queue and you did allude to us that there were mixed groups of people that have gathered there, those in support and those against Donald Trump. Do tell us, have there been any scuffles?
There have been scuffles, Alicia. There was a fight we caught on camera, and we'll share that with our viewers later. There just hasn't been time for us to package and to send that. But let me tell you about the moment we have arrived at. This morning, Donald Trump woke up with Melania Trump, I imagine, in Blair House, the presidential guest house. They woke up, he tweeted something, and then they made their way to the St. John's Episcopal Church, where, as a tradition for President-elect on this day, they go and worship privately. And then they made their way after that service to a private tea at the White House. They were welcomed by the incumbent President Barack Obama and First Lady Michelle. They then walked in, and those two brown doors at the White House shut behind them, and they are now in conference, in a private conference. I imagine a few pleasantries being exchanged, Alicia, before they will depart the White House in a joint motorcade and make their way behind me. That is the Capitol building behind me, and it's on those steps where hundreds of thousands of people, whether they are diplomats, whether they are dignitaries, I'm told among them is South Africa's ambassador to Washington, Mniba Mahlangu, who will represent South Africa, as will many diplomats from around the world. No heads of state invited to the presidential election. Tens of thousands of people have gathered on the lawns of Capitol Hill to witness Donald Trump within the next hour arrive here with his Vice President Mike Pence, who will first take his oath of office administered by Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, and then Chief Justice John Roberts will administer the oath of office to the President-elect, and then that will signify officially the end of an era, the end of the first black presidency of the United States. And I imagine the Obamas will drive off into the sunset, take a plane to Palm Springs, where they will begin their much-needed vacation.
All right, Sherwin, I'm not sure if you can still hear me, but let's go back a little bit. I mean, I've been monitoring some of the tweets and that have brought a lot of comparison to Mr. Donald Trump and Mr. Barack Obama. But a lot of people are shaming Mr. Donald Trump's 19-month-long political career, and also some of these notions that have come up about the people thinking that rich people are better leaders, and also the fact that he has an economic background and not a political background. These are some of the issues that have come up in a lot of debates, particularly here in South Africa as well.
Well, I think it's fair to say that Donald Trump's candidacy and the success in upending the political establishment in this country has infuriated many people, and most notably within his own Republican Party. Remember, a lot of Republicans did not support his candidacy, and so you saw a ground roots movement. He made a connection with middle America, with people who lost their jobs in coal mining and manufacturing, promising, of course, to build a wall and to bring manufacturing jobs back to this country. So Donald Trump upended the political establishment. He resonated with certain people and won the Electoral College here. But I think it's fair to say, and as we've discussed all morning, is that Donald Trump did not win the majority of voters in this election. He won the Electoral College, which is this opaque system that elects a president in the United States. But actually a majority of people that voted in this election voted for Hillary Clinton. So there is this disjoint notion that, you know, we are elevating a man to highest office in this land, even though he perhaps does not enjoy the majority support of people in this country. And so I think you'll see that play itself on Twitter, on social media, and on the streets here. As we were walking to our location here today, there were scuffles on the streets. There were many protesters in the crowds, as we spoke about earlier today. So this is a president that comes in to manage and to lead a very divided country. And this is why the pundits and the analysts are saying, what will Donald Trump present to us in his first inaugural speech? His first speech as president, if you will. Will he be a unifying force, or will he be the divisive force we saw as campaign, as a Republican candidate? Will Donald Trump reach out as the unifier in chief, if you will, when he talks here within the next couple of hours?
Absolutely, Sherwin. There's also been, of course, a lot of mention of that Women's March on Washington, an event that has been touted to actually even rival the inauguration in enthusiasm and even just celebrity power alone. I mean, we know that issues like your gay rights and your gun control and your Black Lives Matter will all be part of this march. Do tell us what is expected from that on Saturday.
It's all those issues and more, Alicia. I mean, you talk about Black Lives Matter, you talk about women's rights. I mean, this is also about a woman's right to choose. I mean, Donald Trump will appoint the 9th Supreme Court Justice. Of course, Republicans filibustering that attempt by President Barack Obama after the death of Antonio Scalia last year. And so you will see the balance on the Supreme Court perhaps shift to a more conservative tranche, and that concerns a lot of people. I mean, we were on the streets yesterday thinking we're just going to talk to Republican supporters of Donald Trump, and we ran into so many people that were in Washington, not because they were here to support him, but they were here to sort of observe history, but also turning out for that Women's March on Saturday. I think every issue that people disagree with in terms of this president and his policies, his policy positions, will be on the table come Saturday morning, and we'll be there to cover it for you.
All right, and Sherwin, I know it's just under 3 hours now before the official ceremony takes place. Do just take us through once again the program that is expected before Mr. Trump takes that official oath.
Well, it officially gets underway at 6:30 p.m. South African time. You will see the president-elect and his wife arrive. The president of the United States will be seated. There will be a music performance. I'm told there will be 6 religious elements to the inauguration. Then the vice president, Mike Pence, will be sworn in by the Justice Clarence Thomas, and that then will be followed by the swearing in. I'm told Donald Trump has brought a Bible that was given to him as a child. He will lay his hand on that Bible, and he will be administered the oath by the Chief Justice John Roberts, and that will shortly thereafter be followed by Donald Trump's inaugural address as president of this country. And that's what people are most interested in. Will Donald Trump present a speech that is unifying, that reaches out to the other side? He must acknowledge that there are people that have been vehemently opposed to his candidacy and now his presidency. What will he do to reach out to those detractors? And of course, this will also be a moment for Donald Trump. Trump, as we know, loves the limelight. This will be his moment in the sun, despite it being very cloudy in Washington today. He will speak to his supporters, he will thank his supporters, and he will lay out his vision for the next 4 years. All
right, and speaking of his vision for the next 4 years, Sherwin, we can't not let this issue go without talking about it. I mean, we're looking at Donald Trump's administration. It looks like a completely white, male-dominated administration. Maybe take us through some of those appointees that are to be announced later on today.
Well, the appointees are not just to be announced by Donald Trump. I'm sorry, you broke up there, so I'm not sure if I heard your question correctly, but you were talking about this being a white-dominated administration, yes. And that certainly is true. Those nominees, a majority of them, have to muster Senate approval, and Democrats are going for them. I mean, whether it's his education nominee that perhaps doesn't have as much experience in managing $1 trillion budget in the education department, or certainly his Treasury nominee. But I think the big story out of that cabinet is that it is dominated by white males, Alicia. We're not seeing the diversity of a leadership that is perhaps more representative of the United States as a demographic. And so we will see that conversation continue in Senate confirmation hearings in the weeks and months ahead.
Thank you so much for that update. That is Sherwin Brass-Peace live to us from Washington, D.C. We'll definitely get in touch with him as soon as the official program to inaugurate the 45th American president gets underway in no time.